Hello and welcome to another episode of Senior Soundings. I'm your host, Gerry LePage, and it's great to have you along once again. I'm joined today by my friend and colleague, John Garrahan of the United Way of Rhode Island. And just a little bit of background, John used to be the Medicare coordinator for East Bay Community Action Program in East Providence, serving East Providence, Barrington, Bristol, and Warren. Since then, John has moved on to United Way, and I've stepped into his role as the Medicare coordinator for EB-CAP. So without further ado, John, welcome. It's great to see you again, and let's talk a little bit about what you're doing now with United Way and this statewide outreach program.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I now run United Way's outreach program. I drive the 2-on-1 RV. Some people may have seen that out there. It's a big RV bus. We go all throughout the state. We have 33 stops monthly that we go to: food pantries, health centers, libraries, anywhere where we think we can hit a target area to help educate them, offer services. And then we also do special events on nights and weekends. So a lot of elementary and high schools are doing resource fairs coming up. We got those. We have trunk or treats coming up for the kids and families this weekend and next weekend and on Halloween. And then we've done other things like Pride, the Rhode Island Heritage Festival, Rally for Recovery. We've been at a lot of different areas. And everywhere in the state, from Burrillville down to Westerly. We've been to Block Island several times, a couple of times with the RV, which was interesting, getting the RV onto the ferry.
I was going to say, it's
Absolutely.
About, 30 feet long?
It is 30 feet long, yes.
So you take up a few spaces on the ferry.
We sure do, yeah, and it's definitely a challenge to get it in there. They get all the cars and vehicles in there pretty tight, but we were able to do it, and it was a great experience to be able to get on Block Island, actually see the people that live there year-round. It was a lot more people than we expected. We're in all 5 counties. We're here at the Tiverton Library, still looking for other opportunities in Newport County as well. But yeah, we're trying to hit every nook and cranny of the state to make sure that, you know, those that possibly don't have transportation or the ability to get to Providence or, you know, any of those larger cities where the resources are.
So when you're doing this outreach, it's kind of I'm thinking, you don't really know what kind of information or resources you're going to be asked about when you come into a place, even if it's a place that you've been to before, right?
Absolutely.
You might be going to these destinations every month, but there might be a new person, and so how do you prepare for this wide variety of information and resources that people are going to ask you about?
Well, luckily we partner with a lot of organizations throughout the state. We make sure that we get any type of pamphlets or card information. We have all of that on the RV. So our walls are lined with card shelves. So Health Source Rhode Island, The Point, local CAP agencies, the local health insurance companies. So yeah, I mean, housing, food, health insurance, clothing, any type of transportation. Yeah, I mean, any type of resources. So, you know, we listen to the community, and if we continue to get questions about something that we don't have, we make sure that we go out and get that. We actually run the gambling hotline as well for the state. So we're up at Twin River once a month with the RV to offer services, but we also have gambling, teen gambling, adult gambling
and
resources.
This is like for gambling addictions?
Exactly, yeah. So, so I mean, we also have a SNAP outreach grant. So we are all trained in SNAP, Medicaid. Obviously, I do the Medicare. I've stayed up with the SHIP certification to help with Medicare counseling. Heating assistance now is something that just started with the LIHEAP program. We're able to help people with that as well. That's a big one. You know, housing's been a huge issue. And unfortunately, the resources are limited there, but we do the best we can. We get people on the list that they need to be on and then offer them other services to try to help as well. But
Well, so can you give a few examples maybe on when you're speaking with people at your events, or whether it's your routine stop or a special event? How do people approach you? Do you try to speak with people one-to-one, or are you addressing a group? And
it depends. There are some food pantries, especially in Providence, where we'll see between 200 and 400 people in the 3 hours that we're there. And a lot of times there will be a group of people that come up, and then of course if somebody has a specific need and they want to speak privately, we have a private room in the RV in the back where we can go and we can discuss that so that there's some confidentiality there if they feel better about that. We're there also to tell people about 211, which is run by United Way. There's a call center right in Providence, 24/7 multilingual. And we have the database with the same information that we have on the RV. So if anyone needs a resource, they can call. They let them know what zip code they're in and what resources they need, and when they can find out what services are close to them.
And John, referring to 211, just so our viewers are clear on this, 211 is just you dial those 3 simple digits. Obviously, if it was like a medical emergency, you dial 911. But if you dial 211, you are connected to the Point, which is Rhode Island's information and referral hub. And basically, for any question or concern or issue that you might bring up, if you call the Point, they will be able to either answer your question or refer you to someone in your community who will be able to help you. So.
Actually, 211 and the Point are different call centers.
Oh, they are?
So 211 takes the resources. The Point runs the Aging and Disability Resource Center for the state now. So anybody that would like to have Medicare counseling, might need home health care counseling, long-term care services, you can still get that calling 211. They'll transfer you over to the Point.
I see.
But the Point people do run the Aging and Disability. So for anyone aging or on disability, those services. And then the 211 call center itself will be the information and referral.
Okay. So, but yeah, it is one number that you can dial to get whatever information you're in need of. So, okay, good. All right. Well, John, you mentioned doing Medicare counseling, and we are taping this program in October. And we are now in the middle, or just at the beginning of, but well launched into already, a week into the annual enrollment period, which we call open enrollment. And so tell our audience, please, a little bit more about what open enrollment is all about and why it's really such an important time of year.
Yeah, Medicare open enrollment is an important time of year because it's every year your medical plans will change. They'll change what they'll cover. They may change a deductible, co-payments, certain things that were covered that aren't covered. Maybe things are now going to be covered that weren't covered. And there's so many options. And this year especially, there's a couple of changes now with the drug aspect of Medicare where prescriptions will be capped no more than $2,000 out of pocket for the year, and they're also getting rid of what they used to call the donut hole or the coverage gap, which means that a lot of people will be seeing lower co-payments on their prescriptions, but they also want to make sure that they're looking to see if the plan that they're on is the best for them because their premium or the deductible may have gone up from last year to this year. Medicare gives you 7 weeks to do that. It started on this past Tuesday, the 15th of October. It runs through December 7th. So especially for those that are on drug plans, it's important to be able to check your plan, make sure it's the best one for you, but also for those on Advantage plans as well. Now that being said, you can make a one-time change between January and March on a Medicare Advantage plan if you happen to miss that enrollment period.
Right.
However,
That's only if you're switching into another Advantage plan.
correct.
Correct? Right.
Yes. And then, you can make that one-time switch if you then happen to miss it, and then you find out in January that something that you need covered is no longer covered. But of course, if you do that in January, February, or March, your coverage starts the following month, so you are still stuck with that plan until the new one can go into effect. So, East Bay Community Action Program, West Bay Community Action Program, The Point, Child and Family Services down in Middletown, all offer SHIP services throughout the state. Very important to get your plan checked over the next.
And there are other CAP agencies as well. I know Tri-County.
They are no longer doing SHIP
They're
services.
no longer doing SHIP? Okay.
Yeah, Tri-County North and South, they did drop theirs. I know they do have SHIP counselors in Westerly, and they have a partner up in Woonsocket as well. But yeah, so the Point is going to be taking on a larger role in the state and trying to help, and the Office of Healthy Aging as well. I know I'll be at the East Greenwich Senior Center offering for them because they had also lost their counselors as well. So.
Well, change is good if it leads to a positive outcome. Right?
Yes.
So, I mean, that's really the important aspect of that. And you mentioned how some of the reasons that people may want to change plans. Another might be where if a plan changes its relationship with a pharmacy, for instance.
Correct.
So a certain chain of pharmacies might be in the network, but not a preferred in-network provider. If it's a preferred provider, the prices are likely to be lower, and those can also change from one year to the next. So there are numerous reasons that a Medicare beneficiary might want to look at their current plan, compare it to what's available in the coming year, and decide on switching. What we have found, John, is that we ran some numbers over a couple of consecutive seasons, and we discovered that about 1 out of every 4 people who comes to see us will change their plan. Those who do so, on average, the savings is about $1,100 a year. So that's not chump change, especially for people on a fixed income who are struggling to make ends meet. Having an extra $90 in your pocket every month feels pretty good.
Absolutely.
So obviously those people get up from the table and they're beaming because they're delighted about saving so much money in the coming year. But even the other 3 out of those 4 people who don't switch plans are also beaming when they get up from the table because they are confident that they have the perfect plan for their specific needs.
Exactly.
And it's such a feeling of satisfaction, I guess, and a sense of comfort that you know that you're in good hands and that you've made some good choices about your Medicare.
Yeah, life is stressful enough without having to worry about health insurance and whether you're going to be covered, how much it's going to cost out of pocket. And you're right, and I would directly speak to those who have not changed their plan either since they got Medicare or in a few years. Because that's where sometimes we see the real savings, sometimes even more than the $1,100 you're talking about. And we get people in here that might be 75, 80 years old, and they've been on the same Medicare plan since 65. And their prices have just gone up and up, and they're like, well, everything else is going up, so this is just the price we have to pay. Yep. Not realizing that there could be a better option that could be saving them a lot of money. And like you said, most on a fixed income, that's a huge savings.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to point out, too, that the service that we offer as Medicare counselors through the SHIP program, SHIP being the acronym for Senior Health Insurance Information Program, it's free. There's no cost to you. except for the value of your time to come and see us. If it's a very direct, simple case, we can usually get that accomplished in about a half hour. Something with a long list of medications or the like might take up to an hour, but generally that is a time extremely well spent. So we invite you to come and see us on that. And just bearing in mind too that the study that we did where the average savings, $1,100, that in sum, extrapolated out over the whole state, turned out to be 6 times the amount that the state actually receives from the federal government to implement the SHIP program.
Absolutely.
So you're getting a 600% return on your dollar. So if you hear someone talk about, well, I don't understand why the SHIP program is important, why is the government spending $51 million a year on this program, you'll have your justification. That $51 million becomes over $300 million in our national economy and the local economies nationwide. So it's really an important program.
Yes, absolutely.
I feel for the people who were among the first beneficiaries of Medicare, right? Because Medicare came into law in 1965, but the SHIP program only came into law in 1990. So for those 25 years, you had people literally saying, what do I do now? And clearly we know how important this program is, and I'm glad, and I'm sure you are as well, to be a participant.
Absolutely, yeah. And then, we're talking about open enrollment, but I mean, you might know someone that's turning 65 or somebody that hasn't enrolled in Medicare yet and is still working, and they're in their late 60s or 70s still. Coming to see a SHIP counselor when that time is right to understand Medicare. As we know, the government doesn't make it easy. There's a lot of nuances to it, a lot of loopholes and things like that. So it's well worth coming in for half an hour to an hour, getting Medicare explained to you. You'll feel a whole lot better about the medical decisions you're making for yourself, and you'll be able to better advocate for yourself moving forward.
Absolutely. And in addition to John and me, we have a large contingent of trained volunteers. There's a state certification that has to be completed every year. So you're talking to real experts, and I'm proud to be a part of that group. I'm sure you are as well, John.
Absolutely.
So John, tell me a little bit about some of your experiences with individuals where it's been some kind of a really memorable or interesting case that you had to do either with the United Way outreach or with a Medicare issue.
Yeah, actually, I think I have one for each. I remember last year for open enrollment, we had an individual come to us, and I was talking about how some people have not changed their plan since they first enrolled in Medicare. And this individual was turning 80. They signed up for a supplemental plan with United Healthcare, and instead of searching for the drug plans, they just did everything all in one and signed up for a United Healthcare drug plan. And they came in and they're like, I'm paying so much for my medications. And I'm looking at, first the premium was went up to $110 a month.
A month, wow.
And that was the most expensive premium for the year that year. And
for a drug
for
plan?
a drug plan,
right.
Yeah. And so it didn't have a deductible. That was the added advantage of paying more for the premium. But I noticed that this individual was on very generic medication, cholesterol, high blood pressure, the generic thyroid medication, and I'm looking, and they're still paying $3 or $5 co-payments on top of the $110 a month. So we go in there, and there is the plan from WellCare that was 50 cents per month.
Wow.
that gave her two of the drugs were no copayment, and one was $5 a month. And of course, she's skeptical now. She's like, "There's no way." She's like, "There's no way that I can pay 50 cents a month instead of 110. Something's got to be wrong with that." And I went over all the different tiers of the drugs and what the prices were in case, she had got added medication in the year to come. And she was okay with that pricing compared to what she had been paying. And so when she walked out, instead of paying $110 a month for her premium, it was going to be 50 cents. She was going to save over $1,200 for the year.
Terrific.
So that was a big one. And then we had, this is an RV story. We had gone down to the Richmond Town Hall. That was one of our stops each month. And a couple had pulled up in their truck, and they came up to us like many people do and say, "Oh, are you guys taking blood?" Thinking that we're a bloodmobile.
Well, that is just a little bit of background information on that. The United Way RV was donated, as I recall, by Blue Cross.
Blue Cross,
yeah,
correct, yep.
And it used to be a bloodmobile.
Yeah.
And it was converted for United Way's specific uses, but I'm sure a lot of people recognize it. At least the general shape of the machine looks like a bloodmobile to me. So
yes, absolutely. Yes. Yeah, no, I certainly see why people get that way. We were able to tell them that we're from United Way, let them know about 211. They had mentioned that they were staying in a hotel. And their apartment that they lived in, the house was sold, and the new owners were going to move in there themselves. So they were misplaced, and they did not have the funds for first month's, last month rent. The couple had a child who they then placed with their grandmother so that it could stay in the same school. And they were staying in a hotel, and they were saying, even though we're making $500 a week, each of us, they were both working, the price of the hotel each week, plus the food, plus making sure that their child was taken care of, they just were not able to get ahead. They made too much money for SNAP assistance. So we were able to tell them about a local church, St. Vincent de Paul, that was actually helping people with rental assistance. And they still are, some of them, when they have the funds. But the church, if you can prove that you can keep up with your rent, what they were doing was they were paying the first month's and the security deposit for people if they found an apartment. So we gave them that. We wished them luck. And the next month, we went down for our normal stop. And as I'm pulling up, I see the same truck in the parking lot. And I'm like, oh, I wonder how they made out. The mom came out. She was in tears. She said they found a place. St. Vincent de Paul was able to help them with 3/4 of the amount of money that was supposed to be put down. They were able to save the rest of it. She was so happy to have her child back with her. Not that it wasn't in good hands with the grandparents, but obviously you want your child with you.
Of course.
And they were able to find a place, and they were able to get it. And they were like, "Thank you so much. We would have never known to look there if we hadn't come and seen you. We would still be in the hotel." So that was a very gratifying story. It was great that we were able to assist somebody and it actually working out. A lot of times I'm at a stop, I give a number of resources to people. I will help with applications and they will go on their way and I will never see them again. So I have no idea how it works out for them. And that was a situation where, we were able to get feedback and find out how it happened. So,
well, it is. I share and agree with you. What a feeling it is for the likes of us to be able to offer something, a resource or an idea, to answer a question that is so vital in someone else's personal circumstances, to help them get over a challenge. And it is really probably the most rewarding aspect of the work that we do, I would think. I remember a lady who was 95 years old. She had her own apartment, and she was getting to the point where she needed a little bit of help around the house. Things like shower safety, just passing the vacuum, some basic needs that would allow her to remain in her apartment if she could get the help. But when we worked out the numbers, she said, oh, I couldn't possibly afford that. So we looked a little bit more deeply, and it turned out that this lady was having her Medicare Part B premium withheld from her Social Security check every month. And yet her income, neither her income nor her savings were high enough to require her to pay that premium on her own. So we were able to apply for the program. It's called Medicare Savings Program or Medicare Premium Payment Program. But the end result was that her Part B premium was no longer withheld from her paycheck, and she was able to use that savings to pay for the home care she needed in order to remain in her beloved apartment, which she did. She almost made it to 100 years of age. Sadly, she did pass away a month or two short of that 100-year mark, but she did have another 4 solid, happy years of living in her apartment and, just getting the help that she needed. And the savings that is realized by the state of Rhode Island, where this lady did not have to be moved into a nursing home, where Rhode Island Medicaid would have been paying the full freight. And what's a nursing home cost nowadays? $10,000 a month?
Oh, yeah, it's up there.
Is not unrealistic, right? To think that it might be like $10,000 a month. So for actually a couple of hundred a month, this lady was able to stay out of the nursing home, be where she preferred to be, and it was a major savings to the state and a major benefit to this lady. So, any parting comments, John? We have about 45 seconds left.
One thing I also want to mention about Medicare recipients, and it's something that could actually help them too, is to remember that Medicare covers all preventative services. So you should always make sure that you're going in for your annual physical exam, mammogram, colonoscopy, all of those preventative services, because Medicare covers them at no cost. It makes sure that you are as well as you can be, and it can certainly save money down the line if you're able to catch something sooner than later.
Right. Well, if you have the Medicare and You handbook, in Section 2, the preventive services that are free are all identified with a little blue apple, as in the apple a day keeps the doctor away. So with that profound sentiment, I thank you, viewers, for tuning in, and a special thanks to you, John, for being my guest again.
Thank you.
And tune in again for another episode of Senior Soundings.